Morning, Mara.
Morning.
Morning, Ron.
Hi, Margaret. Hi, Fran.
Hi.
Morning.
So Mara, I don't know if you know, Joe may not be here. Mary is having surgery this morning on her thyroid or something. So he's going to try to make it, but he may just be able to listen if anything. So
Okay.
we should still have a quorum, right, Fran?
Yeah, we've been fine.
Okay.
And Ron, I think neither of us ended up telling Fran anything about the agenda. So like there's an item that says rooftop lighting. I don't know why that's on there. So if you want to go past it, I don't.
Okay, that's fine. We don't have to talk about that.
Yeah.
And should we talk about Rockwood parking first? Can we do that or not?
Yeah, we can.
We should knock that out. That should be it.
Yeah, because we've got to get through budget and yeah.
I'll make it fast.
I should have answered her, but it's been a crazy couple weeks.
Sure. Fran, I'll have you a check today for trade.
Oh, cool.
Okay, sorry about that.
It's all right.
And just there's a PO box. Is that what it is?
Mailbox.
Mailbox. Okay. All right. I saw that email where you sent it out from trade.
Yeah, it's actually at the UPS store.
Okay.
So they call it a mailbox.
Okay. The post office delivers to the UPS store?
Yeah, they pick up from there too.
Oh, huh. Joe, you made it.
Well, I'm on my phone.
Okay.
So,
Everything go okay this morning with Mary so far?
well, so far they just took her to surgery, so
Okay. Good. Thoughts are with you as always.
Yeah.
Morning, Stacy.
Good morning.
I was tempted to do the cat thing this morning. Did you see that, Judge? I'm not a cat.
I would laugh at you.
That was pretty funny. Morning, Mickey.
Morning.
1, 2, 3, 4. One more. Oh, we have 5. We can start?
Oh, hold on. Tim's coming on.
Okay. All right, good. Morning, Tim.
Morning, guys.
Morning.
Okay, I guess we can get started, right? I'm sure some other people will jump in here, but all right, call to order approval of the January minutes.
Motion
I'll move
approved.
for approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Fran,
Who was
Opposed?
first?
Joe with Tim.
Thank you.
No one's opposed? Okay. Visitors' comments?
So we have 4 people. So I'm not sure if
Do
anyone.
we have 4? We have Mickey, Ron,
No, no, no.
Margaret.
No,
Tim.
we have 4 visitors.
Oh, 4 visitors?
We have 4 visitors.
Oh,
So
okay, got it.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, we now have 5 visitors.
Oh, boy.
So I don't know. I don't know what they want to discuss. So if they want to raise their hands as to who wants to speak, I don't know what it's in regards to.
Okay.
So I'll just wait for them if they want to speak, and if they don't, well, okay, so hold on.
Pretty cool if that was in a song.
Okay, so hold on, that was Ben Hilliker's conference room. I'm not sure. His hand is still raised. His microphone is off
There, now it's on.
and is now, okay, there we go. You're gonna have to turn your sound down to your computer to what you're listening to. Oh, okay, so I'm sorry. I just got an email. It looks like they're all on here in case you're gonna talk about SG Collaborative, which is not on our agenda at all.
Right. It is not.
So
I
for
would
the,
mention to them that they put that video out, which was awesome. But
so
very impressed with
hold
that.
on, I'm gonna move. I'm gonna temporarily remove permission to talk because that was echoing with all of us. So for the visitors that are listening, our agenda today is to talk about a request regarding some parking spaces and the budget. Those are the only items on the agenda other than a city update. So you are all more than welcome to listen, but we are not discussing SG Collaborative. It's not on our agenda. And we have a lot to do with our budget, so that's going to take us a very long time. So if anyone else wants to speak that's listening, feel free to raise your hand.
I'll be back.
Joe, I'm going to put you on mute.
Okay.
Sorry, just hearing a lot of background noise. Okay, so the attendees that are on, none of them have raised their hand. So if you wanted to move on to, I think, Joe, you wanted to move new business first, so that we
I would
can
like
get
to
that.
skip over to Rockwood parking and knock that out quickly so we can move on to our budget, which will take a while. And so there was a letter that I guess, did Fran, you receive this?
Yeah, Eric sent it to me.
Okay. And I have it in front of me. Basically, what it says is that they have 2-hour parking in front of Rockwood's for the facility at the corner of Lockwood and Rock Hill, Lockwood and Rock Hill. And they want their 2-hour parking removed because they have caretakers and family members who have been getting ticketed. Evidently, they may have had someone who was disgruntled at where they maybe a tenant. They have since resolved that, but the police keep ticketing caregivers who are there for more than 2 hours at a time. They don't feel that anybody else, look at Mara go. They don't feel that they'll be impacted by any other businesses except for people who live there. And so they contacted Dale Curtis, the chief of police, and he wanted he said that they would have to get it approved by either us or the city council.
No, it's not us or the city council. It is simply they do not want to move forward with taking it. It would be the ordinance. There'd have to be an ordinance change. So you'd have to actually change the ordinance that currently says that this is 2-hour parking area. So the ordinance has to go to council, and the police department does not want to take it to council unless they are on the understanding that you all have no issues with it.
I got you. Okay.
And I did ask the police department because it had been discussed a while back. And then then COVID happened and we hadn't had time to talk about it any further. And normally something like this would go to the traffic advisory board, and then it would make a recommendation to the city council. And so there was a lot of conversation about the number of spaces. I believe there are currently 6 in front of here. So there's one over here, 2, 3, 4. I think there's a couple more down here. The police department had said that they thought that probably just the 3 or 4 spaces would be more than enough, which would be from the end of the intersection pretty much to the end of their building. To right about here. But again, if there isn't a concern or an issue either way, but removing it from being 2-hour parking.
I mean, no offense, but I could make arguments that my employees should be able to park right there also. You know, it's like, I think the bigger issue is lack of employee district parking on that end of the district. And I think we should make efforts to find some. And we all know that area where we should make the effort is right to your left. That sits empty all the time.
I agree completely.
You know, and
Mara, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mark.
I know I've tried to go into private conversations with them and it hasn't been a brick wall, not the easiest, but I think, and Mara, I'm sure you'd have opinion. I'm sure you'd have some conversations. I know there would be changing to their conditional use permit in order to free that up to be able to lease out. But I think that's, everyone says it, said 1,000 times a week when parking is discussed is, what about that lot? What about that lot? What about that lot? And I feel like we should make a concerted effort. You know, obviously there's, our facility is one that would utilize that a lot. Our employees generally are parking down the street, but we also know as things open back up, even with the added lot off Moody, we were at capacity generally for employee parking in the district. So
you could do 2 different things. One, you could, if you were comfortable with saying to the police department, you have no concerns, I can pass that on to them. The second thing could be put it on the agenda for another item. I have had recent conversations with the attorney for the owner of this building about other matters. So I could get back in touch with her and see if we could add it to a future agenda if you'd like.
I mean, I feel like that's money well spent for our district. I know it's not cheap to rent parking spaces, but we talk about parking, we face challenges with parking, and that's when you look at open empty lots, a lot of time it's frustrating when we have employees that can't find spots to park, then they park in front of people's businesses, then those businesses complain, and so on and so on. So we all, you know, we deal with tickets for employees that can't afford to pay tickets. They park in neighborhoods. So I think finding room in our budget to make that a priority, and not to mention just the inconvenience. If you're a caregiver at the Rockwood to have to park in a lot 4 blocks away, is that, you know, crazy to have to walk 4 blocks to work? No, not in my opinion. But when you look at the challenge, A, in getting a spot, depending on what time you're coming to work, and B, then having to walk, it can be challenging, and some people just won't.
All right, well, that's gonna probably open a pretty big debate, I guess. So I guess, Mark, what you're kind of proposing is maybe having us possibly take a look at the parking lot as like a lease option, like we do with the church behind my building per se.
Right. And I doubt they could do the whole, they probably need some of that, but they could probably free up half the spots, or, you know, 30 spots or 20, something might be a potential. The whole lot would be great, but I'm sure they're utilizing it also, but.
My understanding is that they have to have that many spots for their building, Mara. Am I correct on that? So
That is
they have to
correct.
have that allotted amount for their building, even though they don't use it. They still have to have that many spaces.
But it
So,
can be reevaluated.
so it is and I've talked to them about that. The reevaluation means they're opening up their ordinance, which is something that they have not been wanting to do. I think there's a fear with reopening the ordinance. I did explain to them that with our new code change that we just did for parking, it might actually impact them in the positive. But I know that there is also some legal issues going on between them and the other property owner to their west over the parking lot and the spaces and access and a few other things. So this might not be the best time to have that conversation until that gets resolved, because it does impact their parking. So,
And I wouldn't be opposed on the other topic to removing the 3-hour time limit or 2-hour time limit from an area like in front of the Rockwood where it's not retail heavy. I'd probably be opposed to the idea of them having private parking spots removed from our district parking where it's Rockwood parking or Rockwood employee parking. So that's just opening up.
they're not asking for it to be Rockwood parking. Yeah,
Just-
they're just asking for the restrictions to be removed for the hourly so that it can't be, if someone does park there for 2.5 hours, they don't get a ticket.
Trust me. I'd support that because I'm sure my staff would utilize that area as well.
So I was going to ask that question, Mara. You're going to completely remove any time restriction to those spaces. So those are going to become like free all day spaces. Are they not worried about other people gaining that knowledge and just utilizing those and then having the same issue, but like the parking spaces are gone now, they can't be used?
I don't know if they've thought that piece through. They basically said that they wanted the restrictions removed because no one's using those, so that somehow they would be the ones using them. So I don't know. When we had the original discussions, when they were first complaining about it, they said that there was some sort of understanding. And I looked back through, I found, no paperwork that there was an understanding that they could just park there and no one would ticket them. And again, no matter what happens wherever in the city, if we get a complaint, the police department goes out, monitors it. If it's something in violation of whatever the restriction is, they ticket them. So that's a difficult thing. I mean, I understand they're frustrated with it, but it was never a agreement that would be particular spaces. So yeah, I'm not sure what the implications would be because just about anyone could go and use those spaces and park all day.
And I think their argument is nobody would because it's not necessarily convenient to anything else. So why, you
Yeah.
might need no overnight parking so people don't go park their beat up van there and leave it for months. But I'm sure there's other restrictions against that would fix that.
Yeah.
I envision nighttime filling it up. But in the daytime when they need it, I don't see it to be as big of an issue, but it could be, just like Mickey said. And yeah, there could be people from Novus parking there all day, and which could be, so. Well, I would like to go ahead and move to approve it just as they've stated. If they don't feel like it's a problem, then we'll just have to see if it is a problem, I guess.
I would just like to say, I think we're opening up a Pandora's box of if we do this for them, what other business comes forward and says, do this for us? I don't think there's a reason to do this. I read the letter. I disagree with it completely.
I mean, my opinion is I don't necessarily agree with their justification behind it as far as, our employees should be able to park right in front of our buildings. I know that's what we all try to avoid, but they are I used to live downtown and there were meters on like blocks where no one would ever park anyway. So it's like you already have places where no one will ever park, and now you're restricting parking there in a way. It's a place that doesn't have high demand for parking. It's not a place where, I mean, most of the time these cars are probably getting ticketed with multiple open spots next to them.
Well,
And you'd
yeah,
like
but
to
Mark,
think that maybe an officer could make that decision to not ticket a car where there's no volume, it's not really causing an issue. It might be in violation, but it's not causing a problem. And that's my opinion on it. I think in an area where you don't have retail traffic, where there's not high demand for parking, even if it's a block away from a place where there is higher demand. But I don't know. We open back up and then there is higher demand in 3 months when we have more volume on the streets and we want that to move and churn, possibly. I mean, my business would certainly be impacted if that's the case, as one of the closer retail.
yeah, I mean, I just see it as it's only a block away from where Stacy is. We're obviously where you are. It's not like it's that far away from a lot of retail spots out there. I don't know. I just don't see a reason. I thought the letter was poorly written. That didn't give a lot of backup for it. And you know what happens when that whatever business it is, Zoe's Attic says, I want those 3 spots in front of our store taken away. I mean, how do we say no to me?
You won't be taking it away. You would just open up your parking for all day parking, so no customer would ever be able to park in your business. I don't know who would ever want this, to be honest with you. My 2-hour parking signs are gone right now, and I want them back. So I can tell you right now, I'm not going to bring that up in this meeting, but who would want 2-hour parking removed? Can't even imagine.
Well, yeah, I mean, their argument for an 8-hour employee is,
well,
we all wish we had more convenient parking, and that's what I think is a major goal that we could set to look towards options for, and we talk about all the time. But my employees walk down to we're a block further or a block closer to the parking, but our employees walk down to this lot at Ungor and park there, and then walk to work. So
right.
I mean, we have the orange permitted parking behind Straub's that seems to be not as full more recently than before. I don't know. I know those are purchased ones, but is that something to encourage them to, even if they have, I know you're supposed to have 1 car per permit, but if they needed to assign a couple of cars, that the permits are owned by the Rockwood, could they, maybe rotate them? That's not that far away from them.
when you know what I did, to be honest, I negotiated a lease with Chip Straub for 4 or 5 24/7 parking spots on his lots that he owns, and we pay a boatload for it. So maybe they could reach out to Trip and pay for these spots they want convenient for them, for their employees that don't want to park down the street. I mean, that's what I've done as a business owner. And there's multiple other privately owned lots that they could enter into a negotiation with.
That sounds right to me. Unfortunately.
Right. I mean, I wish there was plentiful parking for everybody to park whenever they want, wherever they want, however they want. But I mean, while for me to say that I wanted those spots to be 24/7, I think that would just be some negotiating. I don't know, because I'm in between. It could help my employees a little bit, but it could also hurt us if once we are operating at capacity again, and maybe those are in demand. So I think right now is a tough time to make, nothing's permanent, but to make decisions on what parking is going to look like in the district and the world we're in. What's going to change as we get back. We've had some significant additions, like our property to the district, that happened over COVID. We don't know how office use is going to change after COVID comes back. Or more people going to work from home, or there'll still be as much demand for those permitted spots and daytime parking. We just really don't know. So I feel like it's a bad time maybe to be making, not that that's really significant change, but I agree with you. Just open up a bag of worms for anyone to come and say, well, you did it for them. My business is in the same boat.
Well, but Mark, if we, it is kind of a permanent thing. I mean, if we accept this and send this to council, I mean, who's gonna come back and say, are you gonna come back when things are normal again and say, okay, I want that taken away? And then we send this to council again, and then they're gonna take it away. I don't think that's gonna happen. That's why I just don't think we should do it.
feel like I'm feeling that same.
Well, I think in a worst case scenario, they come back in 6 months and they want their 2-hour parking back because they're going to see that it could hurt them. They're not getting their own personal parking spaces. I can see from their letter that there could be a need. It's a retirement community with elderly people there, and they do have caregivers that need a place to park. And I understand Mark's point of view where maybe they contact Chip Straub, and Mickey has a good point too. This could drag on for months if we let it. And I think there is an immediate need one way or the other. So I think by removing the 2-hour parking spaces, the 4 spaces temporarily, or not temporarily, until somebody else comes back and says something different, I'm in favor for it. So I think we just need to vote and kind of see where this group is as of right now. And if it doesn't pass, it doesn't pass. And if it passes, it passes. Everybody in favor for that?
Can I throw one more option out there?
Yep.
If I read, sorry, I read it quickly. One option could be that you could ask the city council to change it to 3-hour. Gives them a slightly longer time, or anyone a slightly longer time, without removing it as full day.
Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to that. I mean, I think that for a less high volume retail district, that can make more sense. It gives a little bit more time for a family to visit. And I don't even know. I don't know what they have a decent sized parking lot, I appear, that they own. I don't understand necessarily how they choose use or what they use that for.
Their claim is that is supposed to be only for the residents and their families. And so they're not providing any parking for anyone who's coming to provide different service and care.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like visiting families, I don't know. You can run down and move your car. I don't know.
Well, I like Mara's suggestion as far as
Compromise.
yeah. I think that I don't think it was a problem until somebody complained. We don't have a parking person anymore, do we, Mara?
You do. That's why we're getting tickets.
I got you. Okay, so there's a person who goes around looking at 2-hour parking still.
And their agreement was probably an understanding with the prior parking attendant, who just probably didn't mess with them because she knew it wasn't really causing issues. I mean,
Right.
that would be my guess, that was their prior understanding, was not an official agreement, but a mutual understanding with the parking attendant.
I think this 3-hour too gives us, a justification. We can say, look, everybody has employees along this entire area. And so if you have employees that need to work 8 hours, then we have employee parking that they're going to have to use. And then this gives it, like Mara said, it gives the families or people who have a shorter shift an opportunity to stay there longer without getting ticketed. But then we still have the justification that, look, we have employee parking for employees. They're going to have to use those.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so then I guess we'll vote. It seems like there's general consensus that maybe the 3-hour is a good idea. So let's vote on that. All in favor of changing the 2-hour parking in front of the Rockwood to 3-hour parking? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Okay. So let's tell them that we'll give them 3-hour parking and see if that helps the situation. I do believe that they have a tenant there who complained, and this is done, I think, so.
Hey, Mara, if we were to look at a lease agreement with a lot like the one at Jefferson, Jefferson, would we, I guess, would be a whole nother thing to discuss, but would it be an option from a legal city standpoint to have those as permit spots or separate permits to then lease out to companies for X amount? Or if we're looking at a financial implication, that could be a hurdle to acquire more employee parking in the district, which I think we could find that in our budget to make that work. I think it'd be a good use of our resources, but if not.
So I would want to check the legal implications of that, but I think the other thing that might be something that might work out, again, just throwing this out there, of starting with something like suggesting to them that if they were able for certain limited hours of the day sharing that parking, that wouldn't count against them for being able to lease the spaces in their building. So we might start with something similar to that, and have an agreement along those lines, sort of like when we made the agreement with the church. The agreement with the church was we made repairs to the parking lot, and that gave us the lease agreement. So we're not paying yearly for you to use that other church lot. So there might be some other negotiations we could try before we get to, do we need to add another set of permits and some other things, and yeah.
Perfect.
But I'll reach out. But I do know there's things going on right now that
Right.
might prohibit it for a little while in the conversation.
Anything I can do to help, let me know.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, now for the fun part,
Budgets.
budget.
Okay. I'm gonna have to share a bunch of different things, and I will try to go through it as quickly as I can. So a quick reminder about budget. So this was last year's budget. I had shared it at the last meeting. We discussed sort of what was in your budget, what you've been spending so far, how much revenue we had to date. Last month, we were at about, I think, 20,000. We're now up to about 50,000 has come in. I shared with you that your revenue last year was exceedingly high. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that when I share the proposed draft budget. So what we did was we talked a little bit about some things that you wanted some numbers on. So I'm going to walk through a couple of those numbers really quickly and then let you all decide how you want to move forward. What I did do is I created what I'm calling a working, normally I'm frantically handwriting as we're talking. I've created a working draft spreadsheet so that I can start typing things in directly as we're discussing it. So hopefully it'll make it go a little faster. So I'm going to first share the draft working one. So a couple things to point out. I went in to look back. Oh, sorry, this is a little typo. To look at the financial institution numbers, because I was kind of surprised at how much we've brought in each year. Well, this was quite fascinating. So 2014 financial institutions paid about $750. 2015, nothing. 2016, $460. Then 2017, which was when we were like, wow, we just got this $10,000 payment. And then in 2018, it was a $6,000 payment. And in 2019, it was almost a $5,000 payment. And then the reason why we actually did as well as we did in 2020, some other numbers were down in terms of business licenses and other things, but $17,000 came in. So even though up here, I was like, oh, look, wow, we were at, sorry, moving that pretty quickly. We were at 103,000. So I thought we had like maybe a $10,000 payment. We actually had a $17,000 payment but we were $7,000 short. We should have been in a shortfall, but because of the financial institution payment, we were much higher. So I thought it'd be important to point that out. These, numbers are pretty significant in terms of an overall amount that you had coming in, which means that your beginning balance of your fund is actually pretty high. And I messed this up. This is the beginning fund balance from last year. Hold on. The current beginning fund balance is actually 120,000 for this year. So to come back to a couple things that you'd asked about, I had talked a little bit about the fact that disposal services has gone up. So I'm recommending that we need to raise that number a little bit. Our street lights have gone down a little bit in terms of we're using LED. It's been pretty efficient. So that number is going to go down a little. But then we had a lot of discussions about what do you want to put into your operational equipment, which would be usually your lights on the top of the buildings, what that match is going to be, as well as some other things like trash cans. So I asked Public Works to get me some numbers on trash cans. They have not yet been able to get me an updated number. So at least for now, and they did make the request. I asked them the day after our meeting last month, but we haven't gotten a number yet. But I did go back. The last time we purchased cans was in, not 2103. Can you tell it's been a really crazy week? 2013, we purchased 4 cans with freight. That was split between Old Webster and Old Orchard. And it was actually less than this because we got a little bit of a discount off of it, but without the discount, it would have been about $4,300. So thinking along those lines, knowing the numbers might have gone up, that might help us make some determinations on that number. Now, I want to tell you the other thing that Public Works has been doing is they've been going back through and identifying where are all the cans, because they found that people are moving cans, not the Public Works Department, but private people have been moving cans. In Old Orchard, they've actually found that some cans have disappeared. Not sure where they went or how they disappeared, but there's some that are supposed to be in key locations that aren't. So in both locations, we're trying to do an overall accounting. I would anticipate, we already know that you have at least 2, if not 3, that you definitely want to replace that are the old style. And then there's possibility you might want to have a couple more. So I just wanted to have that number in there. So assume, at least $1,000 a can, probably a little bit more with some freight numbers for getting them all to here. In addition, the Parks Department has a couple suggestions. So I'm going to share some of their suggestions. Hold on. Sorry to make this I'm trying to make it as quick as I can so you can really discuss. So the Parks Department sent me a couple emails. One of the proposals is suggesting for 2022, switching from the pots on the street to hanging baskets. There's a new basket that is what they call a water labor saver. They don't now have to go out as often to water them. They would suggest instead of using the 69 to 75 existing ground level containers, you'd switch to 102 baskets. Their suggestion would be that the pots could go, to any private business owners who want to maintain them themselves. And you could still have those on the street, but it would open up a little bit more the sidewalk area and put them up onto the poles themselves. She had said that with this number, there'd be an initial purchase with a 10-year warranty of $7,000, about $7,500 to purchase the 102 baskets. There would also be a one-time investment of the brackets that hold the hoops for the baskets of $6,400. And then she gave me the numbers on what it would be yearly for the fertilizer, the plant material, and then for the soil in the baskets. So what I did on our spreadsheet, which I'll go back to in a minute, I did put those numbers in. She said there's also additional drop-in liners that you can purchase that can be filled with holiday decorations. So you could actually, instead of having the flowers at key times of the year, you could put some sort of, the decorations in it in a liner and then replace them out. She said there are also replacement wicks that might need to be replaced at certain key points. They've already checked, the city of Washington is using this system and they're very happy with them. They do have a 2-gallon reservoir in the basket, so they could cut the watering back to twice a week versus 3 to 4 times a week. And they think that it would sort of free up the sidewalks more and would bring greater focus to the streetscape. The height can be adjustable on the pole based on the location. So you can see in some areas in other cities, they've put it down lower, or you can put it up higher. In addition, they had a couple other suggestions of some projects. They'd suggest maybe removing the Bradford pears in front of Straub's. So here's the image, here's the image of the area in front of Straub's. In removing that, she suggested that they would create sort of a narrow bed along the sidewalk and then just get the trees away from the curb. So get those away and move the tree wells so that they go against the sidewalk. And so her suggestion with that, the trees can be done through the Parks Department. We actually have a tree fund, so you would not have to pay for the trees. And they can do some dividing this year of some sedges and some perennials to do some of the ground level plants. And then the demolition could be performed by the street department. So in that case, she's thinking that if all the department heads agree, there really wouldn't be much cost to all of you other than just saying, yes, please do it. In addition, she's suggesting, which in the past we talked about this, removing some of the asphalt in front of the parking lot next to Dewey's. That area right now has some pots on it, and instead making it a planting bed is a suggestion with perennials. So those were the recommendations that she had. And before I go back to the budget spreadsheet, any other questions about this before I undo this share screen? Okay. I'm going to stop that share. I'm going to go back to the spreadsheet. So here's the spreadsheet. So in order to purchase all of the baskets she suggested, as well as the 10-year warranty and then the hoops, which would be a one-time purchase. So this would be about a 10-year purchase. It's just around $14,000. And then the plants and materials per year would be about $3,162. So just know in the past, the plants had been about $12,600. So we'd want to talk with them about confirming that this is, I don't know if she said it was per year, but the question is, would then it be maybe doubled for holiday decorations? But if so, it would actually be less than what you're currently paying in terms of the amount of plants, because in order to get those pots to have such a presence on the street, you have to have a lot more plants for those. And then the overall hours would be reduced. So potentially your operating transfer out with staffing could go down and your plant numbers could go down, but you would have a one-time fee of about $14,000. So trash cans, plants, we do not need to replace any of your banners. Just as a reminder, all 4 sets of banners have now been completely replaced with new banners. So those should last you for a while. And I left in all the basic numbers from the past for advertising. So I'm going to now leave you all to discuss.
So I think, I don't know if I'm 100% sold on the hanging baskets. I think they work well in Old Orchard because of the fact that they don't have sidewalks at all. I know we don't totally have a bunch of sidewalks, but in front of our store, there's it's pretty wide. There are probably different places where you would, the hanging baskets could work better than a potted plant. Who's taking a picture?
Say cheese, Mark.
So I like the way our potted plants look, and I think they're a big presence. I would have to think that if we decided not to have potted plants, I know myself personally, I talked to Joe about this, of course, but I would still want a big pot between our building. I think it helps out quite a bit. So other opinions on the pots and plants?
I'm 100% behind you, Ron.
Okay.
I think a a kind of more targeted approach might make more sense. I'm sure there's areas, like you said, that make sense, but probably others that, I mean, I know we have the big one here that's designed to keep people from running over our guests. So like
I saw that. I
another.
was out there that day, by the way. That was crazy. I am for removing the Brad Prepares, I think, in front of Straub's, and getting rid of that asphalt in front of Dewey's, though.
Yeah, I walk that strip almost daily and it's tight and it's challenge. There's not room for more than one, especially right now. It's really challenging as you try to stay 6 feet away from somebody and walk through that area with the Bradford pears. So
Okay.
I think that makes total sense to try to make that a more usable sidewalk space.
Okay.
I have a question. There's that corner right there between Straub's and Robust. I feel like we need to give that a little love. It's just been, ever since they cleared out the pine tree, it's just been left with like a little piece of the pine tree root and there's been no love given to it.
So Stacy, I know that was in a previous discussion in a previous budget year, and I feel like something happened. I'll have to go back through our minutes. There was some issue with it and I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was trying to figure out what was city versus what was Straub's, but I'll make sure they revisit that. I think they would love to give that area some love. And for those, do you guys want me to share that location?
I remember where it is personally, but
Want me to do a quick Google Street View?
Yeah.
This is so
I
much
thought that
fun.
was taken care of a while ago, Stacy.
Well, they took out stuff that was dying,
Mhm.
which you can kind of see dying, but I don't believe anything happened there.
Right. Okay.
So
It's quite an eyesore, actually. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, my guess just looking at it is Straub's owns that, or whoever is the owner of that lot probably owns that.
So
chunk of land.
the problem is actually these spaces right around here, those are actually city spaces. So there was a question of like, these are city spaces along here. And then I think once you get to this right as you turn the corner, these are Straub's. So it was kind of a question of at what point does it become the cities? So I'll just get final verification, but yeah, the ones along the edge of the Robust building are ours. So I think there's a way we can get this taken care of.
I agree. I'd vote to go ahead and spend our dollars to beautify that area rather than fighting the Straub's over sharing cost.
I would agree.
Agreed.
Okay, I'll add that for plants. I'm gonna go back to our so any other thoughts? So do you want them to completely say no on baskets? Do you want them to focus, like, for example, would you want them to put it on the north side of the railroad tracks where the sidewalks are smaller in front of Rolling Ridge and the buildings on the west side? Would you like them to be on Gore because Gore is narrower but not on Lockwood? Would you like them to propose something? Or do you want them to just say no to baskets completely?
Are there
I think
any
maybe,
bad-
I mean, would they be willing,
I'm sorry, what?
would they be willing to identify a few spots that kind of led to this thought process?
I think what led to the thought process is they have been given samples to try in Old Orchard in a garden on Garden Avenue near Webster University. So we do a streetscape down there. It's very narrow and they're going to be putting them, I think they actually got some free ones to put through that area as a test run to see how the watering works and some other things. So in looking at that and knowing that we're expanding the streetscape in Old Orchard, I think it just came out of, well, we're going to do a whole bunch of these in Old Orchard. Would it make sense to also do it in Old Webster? I don't think there was a particular area in your district that was crying out for them. I think it was just the fact that they know that they can reduce watering times and labor and some other things. And it might be that you decide that this year you don't want it. You want to see how it goes in Old Orchard. For their other areas that are going to have some wider sidewalks and see how it looks. And then maybe in a future year, do it.
I'd be interested in getting more information from them if we were to do maybe 50-50. I personally love the pot idea because I feel like if Old Orchard's doing it, if we do some in Old Webster, it kind of makes us a little bit more cohesive, but that's just my thought.
I think that there's probably some areas in Old Webster that it would be good. I don't know, Tim, how you feel about the sidewalks in front of your place. But any place that's usually a little narrower, I think that it sounds like a great idea. And I think they do well in Old Orchard. But I think where you have wider sidewalks, the bigger pots, I think that the Parks Department I think that the city's done a great job in making those plants really pop and get a lot of positive feedback from those. So I don't want to necessarily lose those. I think when they get up high, they kind of get lost. I think they're definitely better than nothing. And if you put a giant pot and it takes up all your sidewalk, that does not work. So I think that if they want to try to get a place where they can, hey, these sidewalks are really narrow here, let's get rid of the pots here and do that. And then maybe we look at it in the future, possibly expand maybe in the next year. I'm pretty concerned about our revenue this year. I don't know what percentage of our revenue comes from businesses. I would think that most businesses did not have a great year last year. So
I think we'll get a better sense on that, because the business licenses aren't due till April 30th. So we won't really know where we're going to be on that, which is why I wanted to make sure you understood what was going on with the financial institutions, because that amount, I think, more than made up for some of the ones that went by the wayside.
is it any chance like the financial institutions got caught not paying what they should have been paying and all of a sudden now they're paying that amount?
I can check with Joanne and see if I can figure out this piece. I mean, in the past, we'd been told it was like, I don't know if they have a good year, they pay into it. I don't know. I can ask her.
So random. It's bizarre.
It is very bizarre.
Okay, so does everybody kind of agree that we're going to stick with our big potted plants there, and we will go to parks and see if there are some areas where we want to get the smaller ones that would make better sense, and we'll take that under consideration.
My only thought was for the smaller ones on the poles is where there's hills like Rolling Ridge. Do we have pots that are sitting on the sidewalk there that are, tilted? I don't remember what's down there, but maybe putting a couple on the poles down there might make sense.
Yeah. I don't know what options are here, like on Gore, kind of coming up between us and the forest, but I know that tends to kind of feel a little desolate up that way between, kind of going up towards Bristol, et cetera. So I think there might be an opportunity for one or two there.
So first, I'm going to go down here real quick. Usually there's pots at the bump outs along here. Gets a little narrower through here, so I don't think she normally puts any pots. They put pots where they have usually a bigger bump out. And then when you get down to Rolling Ridge, I don't think they really do any. But they also don't have the decorative, unless this is an older, yeah.
I mean, Rolling Ridge obviously does a great job making their block look amazing all the time. But as you go between the retail district and down to Rolling Ridge and some of the other areas, there might be opportunities there. And I guess that's a decision. Do we want to invest in those in-between spots? I mean, you look at that, just the one block where you have office and auto body.
And the hard part is we don't have permission to put them on these poles.
Right.
Right.
Let me go back up, Mark, to where you were also discussing up here. Not meaning to make anyone sick. So we're gonna have a similar issue here because we don't have the decorative poles and we can't put them on here.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe it's just no, but I mean, I can ask them to make some suggestions, but I think it really was pretty much going on to our decorative poles because we really don't have permission to go on to the,
Power. That
yeah, the electric poles.
makes sense.
All right, so I'm gonna stop share, go back. Okay, so do we want to keep? So here's with your budget. With your budget, I need to be able to put all this into the computer system before you meet again, which is always the hardest part with the timing of when you all meet. I have to have my budget in the middle of March before you meet next time. So the key question would be, you know, right now, would you want to just, so keep everything exactly the same? I mean, they'll give me some slightly updated numbers on cost of living increases for staff and maybe some additional plant numbers for like the area next to Robust. Your overall advertising, you know, you have a lot that you did not spend this year. As we get closer to the end of the year, we can pull some of that over as part of a purchase order if you really needed to, instead of having it go back to your fund balance. And then in operational equipment, I need to go back and look. I thought I had the numbers in here, but I apologize. I didn't update. Wait a minute. Let me go back. What did we spend so far? Oh, we've spent 6,200. Sorry, I'm looking at this is the proposed budget, so I take all the numbers out. We've spent about 6,200 of that operational equipment number. So in terms of that, you would probably want to look at, you know, are we doing another 3,000 as a match for lights on tops of buildings? And would you put the rest of it being something for your trash cans?
So yes, we need trash cans. No doubt about that, right?
Agreed.
And then I think we want to keep the $3,000 matching going on with the lights. We'll keep moving forward with that. I'm just, if anybody says anything different, please speak up.
And then I know Stacy at one point was talking about that, the sign, which, you know, we've kind of gone back and forth about, I mean, technically it could come out of advertising versus operational equipment, because it really would be like an advertisement of some sort, because it would be for the district. So we would have potentially money left over from advertising that could be put over as a purchase order and dedicated to some sort of directional sign or map or kiosk or something. So the question would be, like, in operational equipment, if we have $3,000 and then I'm just going to say 6,000 for trash cans, because I just don't know how much they will have gone up in 7 or 8 years. If we change this to 9,000, if you left your advertising as it was for previous years with the holiday package, social media, Webster Kirkwood Times advertising, open house, street dance, jazz festival, and other advertising, plus potentially being able to carry over some from this past year. Potentially these numbers are going to go up a little bit, and I don't have them yet. But in the past year, it was like a 3%. So if I took that, I'm just going to get out sorry, I'm going to get out a calculator if I can get out a calculator. Oh, it won't let me have a calculator because, oh, there we go. I'm going to try to do, God, this screen is complicated. 27. 523. Probably add another $800 to that. So I'm going to add that to 27,523.23. So I'm just going to assume that this is going to be about 348. I'm just throwing that number out there just to see if we can get some sort of budget approved. Thoughts?
So I think that our projected revenue won't be as high. So
I'm going to assume your projected revenue is probably going to be more like, let's just say 84. And the only reason why I'm saying that is you already have your revenue so far is already at $50,000.
wow.
Yeah. So you remember a lot of it comes from them paying their people paying taxes on their property.
Okay.
So, it's kind of not a 50-50, but kind of close. So right now the amount that's come in from taxes, actually there's some coming in late, but you're already at $50,000. So I don't think you're going to be as low as you believe.
Okay.
And then I believe I looked, actually I might be able to get into it while we're talking. Let me see if I can get into and pull up if there's any bank money that's come in so far. If you want to continue to talk amongst yourselves.
All right. So miscellaneous, we're going to keep. Operational equipment, Mara has already raised up. Professional services are staying the same. Disposal services, we know could go up a little bit, but we should be okay on there. Parking lot rental, we know what that is, and that's going to be the same. Street lights, those are going to go down slightly, which have been changed already. Advertising, if anybody wants to change any advertising, Joe is here. I talked to him yesterday. He's looking for $4,500 possibly for the Jazz Festival. He's still planning on moving forward with this. But he may not be able to get the sponsorship that he's had in the past, but he should have $3,000 from last year. And then he's wanting to get a total of about $4,500. He still thinks the street dance is going to be a go. He's planning on it. It's going to be close in June, but he still wants that left on the budget as well. So after advertising, then it's just operational equipment. We do have a fund balance. So if our funds are not quite as good, we can make adjustments, I guess, next year. We won't know that until April, which is way too late for this budget meeting. So anyone have thoughts on any of that?
The only thing I'm going to throw out, and it's going to be for a later meeting, is the lights in the buildings at some point are going to have to be replaced. And is that going to be a 50-50 split between us and the building owner again, or are we going to have to do that? I'm just throwing that out there. There's going to be money that has to be paid to do that, and I'm just I think it's something we need to keep in our mind.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know what expense is light bulbs and what expense is the wiring. Wiring seems to be more the problem than the lights themselves, the light bulbs themselves, I believe. But then we have to pay Stride to get up there and replace them, and the wiring. So it may not be quite as expensive as it originally was, but if the light bulbs are like, oh no, that's 10% of the cost, then it could be a pretty big expense.
And I apologize. I was going to try to get some of those numbers for you. That one got away from me. Typically when we spend I've been able to get deals on the strands. And so I buy them in huge rolls, and they actually have a number of rolls still sitting there and waiting. But typically I do have a spreadsheet that figures out like how much the lights themselves are, and then how much the labor is. And we got into an agreement with them that we kind of got a fixed amount put together based on linear feet. So even though some buildings might be more complicated and some might be simpler, I was able to get them to agree to something sort of in the middle. So every single building is the same cost per linear feet of what we're lighting. I think I might be able to get into a similar agreement with them for replacement of just replacing the strands, because they will not have to wire the building. The building's already wired and connected. So we would just need to figure out what it would be for the labor to take the old strand off and put the new strand on.
Yeah, and the clips are already mounted, I would assume, which is
Mhm.
part of it. So it shouldn't be,
It should be less.
it should be less.
And then really quick, just wanted to let you know, we are, as of today, we have about 40% of what would be our normal taxes from St. Louis County on the property. And we're at about 30% on business licenses. So
$50,000.
yes, that puts us at $50,000.
Okay.
And nothing has come in for financial institutions this year.
Okay. Okay. And so any other comments on, so, and Mara, I'm sorry to ask, but do you have any idea on how much money we have left over from, like, we should have money left over from lights for a while, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes, so I need to go back and look at, we did do Rolling Ridge. That's the only one we did this year.
Okay.
And because of the timing of when we did it, I had not gotten her a bill. So really right now, when it shows that we've spent 6,000 under operational equipment, we didn't get, we don't have a payment back into that. So hold on, let me look, 730. Oh, I'll have to look. You know what? They haven't even charged me for them yet. I haven't paid Stripe yet for that one. I have some lighting repair, which was to the buildings, to the one set of buildings, that was 700. I did buy more light bulbs for replacement of bulbs. That was about 540, but that was, you know, that's boxes and boxes of bulbs. And then some additional repairs one more time. So we've done some repairs. We paid for banners. And then some light bulbs. So we've spent about 6,200. You still had another 7,000 in this year's budget that you have not spent. Again, that's not necessarily on lights. Now, we had talked about still trying to do the perennial O&O building. There's still a couple others we could do. And then we probably need to go back to what would be the very first buildings that were done, and deal with lights on those. And then Maury, his building on Gore is able to probably be ready. He's finally finished that building. So there's a few buildings we could still do. And we have money this year to do it, but we would also have the 3,000 in next year's budget to do some too.
Thanks. Okay. So anybody else have any comments on what we have proposed up here on the screen? Any objections to it? Okay. Well, then I guess we need a motion to approve the 2022 budget.
A motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Was that Mark?
That was Mark.
Thank you.
Aye.
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 All opposed? All right, there we go.
Thanks all. I will get additional information from Parks Department and some other things, and I will give you an update. So even though I have to put it all in, I still have a little bit of ability after next month's meeting to make some additional quick changes if we have to make any changes.
Okay. Sounds good. Any super weird, crazy city update pending things? You don't need to go through your whole list, just anything.
I don't think so. I
Does
think
anyone have any questions for Mara about city update that we're not going to get too involved in? Oh, wait.
Sorry,
Go
really
ahead.
quick. A couple of the code changes that we're working on right now, just want to remind you, at Plan Commission on March 1st, we're going to have, we're working on code changes for single family residential and 2-family residential. One of the things that's going to be coming up soon, not in the next month, but maybe in the next 2 months, is we are going to bring forward a code amendment right now in your district, which is the D district. If someone wants to do multifamily, like if they want to do the second story with apartments, or want to do an apartment building behind any of your buildings or whatever, it's a conditional use permit. Which is a little odd because the comprehensive plan says that you should have sort of mixed use in your districts and have the ability to have maybe people live above retail or have office above retail. And we've had a lot of questions about the possibility of doing it. We've also had questions in the C district. The C district doesn't even allow it as a conditional use, which is kind of crazy. If you go down through Old Orchard, the C district has a bunch of the apartment buildings along Big Bend. So we are proposing to change the code so that multifamily would be an allowed use in a C and D district as long as they meet the setbacks, the parking requirements, and the other things on site. So we were going to come forward with that. I think it's going to help with a few other issues and things that people have come to me over the last few years about doing some mixed use buildings. And I think it would give a little more flexibility for kind of keeping that walkability to your districts. So anticipate that might be coming as early as, I'm going to try to get it on for the April Plan Commission meeting, I think. And then that would move it forward potentially April and May with Plan Commission, maybe into June and July with City Council. I don't think I have anything else big. We've got a long list of, there's restaurants coming in left and right. There's some new businesses coming in. The redevelopment SG Collaborative, there's no new update right now, but we'll keep you updated as there is.
Golf carts. We might be seeing more of those.
I think that is the SG Collaborative video posted on the city's website?
Yes, I believe it is. I'll
Okay.
confirm. I know they're making some updates on the city's website to do, to provide a little bit more. So if it's not up now, it will be up soon.
Okay.
Mara,
Anyone who's had a chance to
on
look at
golf
that?
carts, are they required to park? Do they have the same parking restrictions and limitations as a normal car?
You know, I stopped listening at a key point because it came up so many city council meetings in a row. That would be a question for the police department. My understanding is yes, like they can't, I don't think they can park on the sidewalk. I didn't continue to look at what the ordinance read. I had too many
Right.
other things to think about. That was one I did not want to get my fingers into.
Firing mind, not a real, urgent.
I'll find out.
No worries. I assume the same, that they're just treated like vehicles.
My understanding, it's their vehicles. They can't go on streets that are more than a certain speed limit. And you do have to check in with the police department, and you get a sticker that says that you meet all the basic safety things that they put in the ordinance. Can't cross over Big Bend. Can't, there's or something. There's certain streets you can't be on.
Right, anything over 30 miles an hour. It has to be 25 or under you can be on. You can cross over 30-mile-an-hour streets, but you can only cross. And
Thank
they
you.
have to have all the safety features. They have to be inspected by the city and everything. So, okay, let's adjourn the meeting. Next meeting will be March 23rd.
March 23rd.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
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 Well, I mean, they talked about a parking issue with the rock. They were on Lockwood and Rock Hill Road. And then they talked about some flower pots that I had.